So we're here, Buena Onda podcast from
Buena.
North Platte, Nebraska.
Yeah.
Sitting here, wrapping up. We're in quarantine from On 7. Sitting here with the busy season, aka David Maas.
Some people just call me Mr. David.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a thing that started on the On 7 tour that we made, but I prefer David. Actually, I think it's yeah. I'm not a Mister.
We'll get a little cheers.
Cheers.
You want to tell them how you got called Mr. David?
Oh,
Or is that giving away too much? Because we're going to be releasing this and we haven't even released the On 7.
exactly.
So maybe some of this should be under
It's
the shroud. But
yeah,
you definitely became a character on this trip, man.
yeah, I did, but
Like you started off one way and you grew into this rule.
in my position, yeah, I think if you do what we did the last two months, I guess it was now more than 10 weeks.
Yeah.
Of course you change in a way, not in a negative way that you be like, oh, because I'm hanging around with this person, I'm gonna change in their kind of way. It's more the experience you made changed you.
Yeah, but I think also with you having the cameras on you, I think it became, you leaned into something.
Yeah.
Even though I don't even know if you knew you were leaning into it. Like your personality was coming out as a manager and it created, there was tensions that happened and you dealt with them in a specific way that
Yeah.
showed your personality. You're David and you're also Mr. David.
Yeah, it's a part of me.
Yeah.
It's a part of me, and I'm happy that this is a part of me, and I'm happy about that I saw the translation, like you said, with the cameras around. I'm actually a person.
Transformation.
Yeah. What did I say?
Translation.
Oh no, with the transformation. Yeah, I'm not the person who worked in front of cameras before.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it was it is still the first time because we're still on.
Yeah.
This is
How did it feel being in front of the camera for your first time?
It was interesting. At the way beginning, I didn't felt that comfortable because you always think you have to act like it's scripted, and you have those things you have to do, and then you start doing it again, have another take, and reshoot stuff. What was really interesting for the first episode. But yeah, you get to the point where it's natural.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think about it that much. It's just, okay, there's somebody with a camera, but you're still you, and you do what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this, you see that in the show, that I just don't give it anything about that there's a camera. Even
Yeah,
especially
I think it's
talk.
funny when we first started, man, you were like saying to me, yeah, I don't know how much I really want to be filmed. Like, this is a show about you. And then by the second episode, you were like, hey, man, I don't know if I'm being filmed enough.
Yeah, yeah, and it's
You were like, in a matter of 2 weeks, you went
Yeah.
from one extreme to
the other.
Yeah.
You get used to it, and then you get to the point.
And then
that
you like
want
it.
Yeah, because you be like, okay, the first episode I was there in a tons of shots, and then in the second episode you'd be like, well, are there really enough shots of me?
Was my story told?
Yeah, because you grow into it. For me, it was just like a process of growing, and yeah, and then I really loved. I mean, I really enjoyed. I think I wouldn't need it for the rest of my life, but now I'm on the point where I will be like, okay, we have this show, we do this trip, and I'm part of it, and then I also want to show that I'm part of it.
Do you think that it's like a little difficult for you now? Like, once this is edited and once you see it, do you think it's going to be hard for you to walk away from it and be like, okay, I'm done, I never need to shoot anything again in your life?
I don't know, because for me it's even difficult. It's still really hard I still really don't like to hear my own voice.
Uh-huh.
and I'm not sure if I like to see myself on the screen. I don't know what kind of feeling I get when I really see a whole episode. But I'm super...
Because you're worried about people analyzing you? Or like...
No, that I think that I analyze myself too much, that I'm too hard with... You know, you get like... An artist, yeah, not an artist, but you are a figure, you're a character. You're a character in a show. And then you have also the vision in your head how you want to show yourself. Personally. And then you be like, no, I think this wasn't a good shot from me. And everyone else be like, well, this was a perfect shot from you. And you see yourself always in a different kind of way.
I think that's the hardest part about like shooting what we shot and using my name as my music and stuff, because I feel that I am that character and that character's me. And it's not completely me because it's edited in a certain way that it's being perceived as someone else, but I think that's a really difficult thing, having your own name as your stage name. Like I always wanted to have a different name as my stage name, but then I was like, oh, well, too many years have passed, like would that be confusing now? Because I think it's easier when you're a character. Yeah. Like if you told me we were going to go do a script and I was supposed to play this guy who maybe had all the same attributes that I do, I still think it would be easier, even if it was just like a different name of somebody, you know? But when it's your own name, it's like, oh, well, do people think that's me?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, of course, sorry. Of course you still play a little role in the show, because it's like you said, you as an artist, of course the artist name is also your private name, but they're like, it's always different. It's never 100%. It's not the private person Kevin Kennedy, it's the artist Kevin Kennedy. Right. And this is what I think gonna be really, really interesting, because the show doesn't have like the real hard border, because we work together, but we also are friends. And I think this is also part of the show that makes it sometimes a little bit difficult, because you don't have like the hard borders between, okay, this is work and this is friend and this is our private life that we are talking about, and but it's also part of the show, because we are still humans that want to show what we really experience, and this is also our private feelings.
Right.
But I think this is what it makes us so interesting, and I think
I hope that comes across in the show too, that people see that.
Yeah. But I think if you know us, you're gonna see it in a different way, and if you and if you don't know us,
you're gonna perceive it differently.
Yeah. But I think it's a show for the whole family.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think if you see it, you have a lot of fun, because when I thought about, or when I now think about the whole trip, I really see the transformation from us and how we get deeper in it and what we experience, and how the whole show also changed in herself with every episode, because we get deeper in and we experience this stuff. And
it's interesting because it's like after finishing it, I could see it like it almost would have been, I don't want to say easier, but it's like when you live something and you experience it. We have a reality show, right? We have a travel documentary, something that really happened, and everything's filmed that's really happened. It's like the certain moments you're like, oh, that actually would be good for like a real like Hollywood movie, because it was just ridiculous scenario, and we weren't even able to capture that in how the ridiculousness was. There's certain moments the cameras weren't rolling. You're like, is this real life?
Yeah. I think for me, the most amazing part of it is just that you really follow us on the journey.
Yeah. You see you growing into a manager. It becomes easier for me to do the collaborations. I mean, even think about like the first time you had to go ask somebody for a release form to like
Oh.
the end, dude. You were asking people for release forms who didn't have any idea what you were asking for.
Remember the one woman who couldn't read?
Yeah.
She didn't even have a real signature, but I figured it out.
Yeah.
And I think that this was, I mean, sometimes I feel that in the last 2 months I aged years. Like now I feel like way older than before, but in a positive way because the experience.
Like you're wiser.
Yeah, you're more
And
wise.
You're more capable. Like I feel like it's weird being the center point, like the actor, and
Yeah.
then also the producer, and then also trying to direct it. Like that I learned so much from that element, and how to be like, no, I want this shot, or like, no, this isn't necessary, or no, this is good. And then now sitting here and trying to edit everything and sell it, it's like we're doing all these different elements and all these different parts, you know.
And in a really, really short time period. It is not that we doing this for years. And imagine when Nico told us that he has friends who make a documentary, they're filming it for 4 years.
I can't imagine that, dude.
I'm pretty sure that I couldn't do it because for me, I really need to process. I really need to go forward. I can't really.
To be honest, man, after doing this trip, I feel like we could make a legit movie in a week if we had the whole script, because especially if it was supposed to have the elements of feeling like a raw show, because it's like, okay, I know the angles that I'd want, and I know like how I want, like audio is such a big element to it, but we were doing it on the fly.
Yeah.
And of course we messed up on a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, we did, but we do. But this is also part of it. We never had. It was never. Or let me say it like this: for us, it was never the point of having the perfect production thing. This was. We never thought about it because we know us.
Never was the plan.
And it was never the plan because this is not what we want to show.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to show that everything could be perfect. It's also, I think, maybe, if there are people out there in the world, they see this and gonna be like, yeah, I could do it too, with of course another kind of idea, but I could do it. They did it because they were just like, okay, let's do it. Not that we won't wait and plan everything for 2 years. We're just doing it.
Yeah.
And I think this is really, really, really important in life.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually a life lesson.
Yeah.
That you just have to, if you really want to do something, just go out and do it. And don't think about it too much, don't plan it too much, because at the end you just be disappointed.
Yeah.
Because nothing in the world you can't play the next day. You can't even plan what's happening in the next hour.
No, and how many things did we plan that didn't work?
Yeah.
In fact, most of the artists we found and most of the people that we ended up working with were completely
out of the game. We never had them on the screen.
No.
Before. And this is.
Or they were never planned. We never called them ahead of time.
Yeah.
We found them somewhere through somebody. But I think that's what makes it special.
Yeah. This is what it makes it nice, because it shows that everyone in the world is actually connected.
Yeah.
Without being connected.
Right.
The best connection you always get when you just at this place at this time and you just meet the people.
Mm-hmm.
You can write them on Facebook and Instagram, you can follow their lives, but what doesn't...
Yeah, and you don't really even know if that's real. I think maybe what we showed is way more real, because it actually happened and things aren't perfect. Maybe the audio is not perfect or the visuals aren't perfect, but you know that it actually happened, and it happened like this.
And if you want to see something that's perfect, you can go wherever you want. I'm not interested in it.
In the perfection, no.
No. I mean, of course, I have my idea of perfection, but it's not that I'm disappointed or sad if I don't get to the point of perfection. I
Right.
always try to create the perfection out of the moment and out of the things I have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I mean,
And now here we sit in quarantine.
yeah, we're sitting. I mean, we never
This is the
planned
first time we
this.
stopped. No, we
Yeah.
didn't plan this either.
And now I'm sitting in one of the most beautiful places I ever been to, directly on a lake. The
This is
sun
one of the
is
most
shining.
beautiful places you've ever been?
Yeah, for my soul. I mean,
Uh-huh.
of course, I guess it's the beauty of the moment.
Mm.
What it makes it so beautiful to me. Because it,
Yeah, because even now, man, we're not dealing with the craziness of the world going nuts with Corona and being locked up. I mean, we are, and we're watching it from afar, and I think it's crazy. I don't even know if we were in the cities. I don't know. We're positive people. I don't think that it would affect us the same that it's affecting other people.
yeah,
But I think this is a little bit more freeing, even
Yeah.
being in a certain environment.
and I mean we chose. We had the luck to choose what we're gonna do,
Mm-hmm.
and for us we just chose to be here, and we chose that we're gonna lock ourselves up for 2 weeks, because we know of the danger. It's not that we just say like, oh, it doesn't affect us because we are young or whatever. It's just we choose this, and we choose. Okay, the break we didn't really choose because
We had to do it.
yeah. I mean, we are not rich enough to have a private jet, what would be pretty.
Yeah.
So,
That
but-
it could have got us to South Africa. I mean, to
Australia.
Australia. Yeah.
But then we would miss like the funny 36-hour flights, sleeping at airports, in planes. I mean, we had always, the flights were most of the time way too long, and we were like super done afterwards because of course you don't sleep that good in a plane.
Right.
But we always had a good time. We were drinking wine.
Yeah.
We just, we enjoyed this moment too.
Yeah.
Even
we
if
were-
it was shitty.
But
Well,
we're living.
Yeah,
We had to do that.
yeah. And this was really, really nice.
Yeah. I never understand that when people complain about, oh, I got to take this flight. It's 17 hours to go to this place to go on vacation. It's like, wait, why is the flight such a big deal? Like,
Yeah.
my mother, she's always like, oh, that flight's too long. Let's take the shortest one. But it's like, yeah, but the flights are also part of the experience that you're about to go on.
And you never know who you meet on the flight.
Right. And you never know, like, why you took that flight for a specific reason, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, yeah. It's. And
But people love complaining about everything, man. People are always complaining about this or that, or this was time consuming or uncomfortable. Yes, I understand. There's certain things that you can do to make your life easier. And as I get older, I like to do more of those things. But there's certain things that don't bother me at all.
No.
Like,
And I mean, if you go on vacation, I mean, it's such a luxury thing that you could go on vacation to Australia. Imagine this, people 40 years ago couldn't afford it to go there.
Yeah. Or maybe it was, I don't know. It could be an affording thing, but also like people can't afford it now. But it's
Yeah.
more so that the world, it's more possible in your mind, I think, because of Instagram and Facebook, and you see these pictures and people are like, oh, I can do that too. I think a lot of the world is I can do that too, rather than it was like out of reach or you think it's cheaper now than it was 20 years ago?
Yeah.
30 years ago?
For sure, all the flights go, are way cheaper than before.
Really?
Yeah. To fly, in the beginning of the commercial aviation, flying was a really luxury thing, like really luxury thing. And it gets cheaper and cheaper, and this is also what destroys the market. Imagine there are every day, I mean, not at the moment because we have the corona and there are not that many flights, what's really good for the environment, but on a normal day, there are 2 million people in the air.
Wow.
2 million. I mean, we are 8 billion people, but 2 million people taking flights a day.
That's pretty crazy.
And I think
2 million people.
and there are flights in Europe you can fly from one
And what
city-
you figure? Okay, let's say 200 people are on each plane.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It depends. You have those big planes with 630 people, like the biggest airplane, the Airbus. But
But either way, 2 million people are up
it's
in the
like
sky.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's just crazy, and I think the most people fly on the short distance flights. For example, in Europe, and it's so cheap. You can buy a flight for. There was one, Ryanair had once a discount thing, and you can buy a flight for 99 cents. I mean,
What?
of course, it was like a joke, but they have flights for $10.
I don't ever know, how do they pay for the gas for that?
It doesn't really work. It's just it's like the thing. If you have like big discounts, and then you have to go, then you have to always need like a really full aircraft, and then they charge you $60 for a small piece of luggage or whatever.
Yeah.
But still, it's not. It doesn't make any sense.
Do you think that these airlines, after this situation with Corona, do you think they should just go bankrupt? That travel should be knocked back heavily?
No, because I love travel, and it would be.
But you're still going to find a way to travel. But if it's knocked back and these companies go out of business, there's a huge opportunity to reset on this whole travel thing.
I think the whole travel thing needs a reset, because if you have two airlines that are super cheap, then everyone goes to their airlines, and then the other airlines be like, okay, we have to go. Also, we have to lower our prices, and then you have those domino effect, and everyone goes lower. But you also have to think about it. One aircraft costs like 100 million, just for example. And then you have you have two pilots, you have to pay them. You have the stewardess, you have to pay them. And at the end, you figure out which costs you can minimize, and then you minimize like everything, all the service and everything, and then you minimize what the people get. And at the end, you can fly cheap and think, oh, this is so cool, but the stewardess just get like $8 an hour for working or something like this. And I think this is not fair. We are so rich. The people on the whole world were never so rich like we are now. And why shouldn't everyone get the piece of the cake? I mean, if you work,
but in doing that, you will knock other people out of having a piece of the cake in traveling.
Yeah, but I think with the traveling, it's also you have to find a healthy level with everything. And I think now we are on the level where we overconsume the traveling and flying. I mean, sometimes from my hometown to Berlin, it's with the train 6 hours, not even 6 hours, less. But the train is most of the time costs more than a flight, and then I take the flight, but the flight is so bad for the environment.
Right.
So
well,
at
that's
the end,
ridiculous that the train's more expensive too.
yeah, and the thing is, at the end you destroy your planet, you destroy your living room, like, yeah, your natural habitat.
Your living room.
Your living room. You destroy your living room.
Destroying my living room.
And my couch burned down by this massive fire.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder, I think about now that this Corona thing is knocking out these airlines because they can't fly and they can't sustain. And there's a lot of people who have jobs, and there's a lot of people who, are going to be in really bad situations, and pilots and in a lot of industries, right?
Yeah.
But I think back to like 2008 and them bailing out, I'm talking about the U.S. government.
Yeah.
The U.S. government bailed out all these car companies for the same reason, that people needed jobs to make cars and to do this. But at that same time, I always wonder if they would have let those car companies fail, then the next car company that would have started could have got help from the government and could have created such a cool new car that was more efficient, and they had a reason, and everyone would have kept their old cars that they had until like something really good, reasonable, economically sound came out. But instead the government bailed these people out. And then what we had was cash for clunkers, buying old cars, trying to rejuvenate this economy, which, if you remove the idea of the people losing their jobs, which can always be in a defense for this, but you remove it and you say, okay, those people would have been hired by the new company, and not only that, we would have got a better product, and it would have been better for the environment. But instead, it just was a whole lot of nonsense that was caused. So now we have this with travel, and with planes, and with a lot of other industries, but I'm just thinking travel because that's what we experienced in the last few months. And I think about it and like, what we did was pretty, I would never travel like that with so many flights and doing all that unless we were trying to do this actual project. You know, it's just not how I travel usually. But we always were looking for the discounted flights. We always looked for the best route and everything. But back to the point, I just wonder, like, I see now that the US government's talking about bailing out these airlines and then holding a stake in the airlines, and which would be great for them, I guess, for the government, but for us as consumers and for the planet and all of that, maybe there needs to be a reset. Maybe these companies need to charge you more for flights. Like, maybe this idea of globalization shouldn't be so easy, because it already is easy. We have the internet. We can talk to people, no problem. But is it necessary for you to go to Jamaica, to go chill on a beach and drink margaritas and party? Like, I don't know.
This is the thing. If you always keep like, okay, we have to put money in there so everything works out, you always stay with the old system, but you should put the money, instead of putting billions of dollars in banks that fucked up the system. I mean, it's the truth. The banks fucked up, and at the end we have the economic crisis. And then those
banks got bailed out.
For what reason? You just should be like, you guys, you had billions of dollars and you just missed it and didn't made it well with all the money.
You gave mortgages to people who couldn't afford it. You scammed people.
You did everything that's not right. Where everyone would be like, this is not how you treat other people. And why should everyone pay for your failures? Or your
failures.
You could, I mean, if you have a company, a small company, and you mess up with it, and nobody's buying your product because your product isn't that good, then it's your fault. Then nobody's coming and be like, of course I gave you billions so you can just stay with your old product that nobody wants to buy. This makes no sense. This is not how it actually works. So, they should.
These companies should have to pay the price.
It is what it is. Of course, it's sad when people losing their jobs, but you have to move forward. This is
the opportunity to reset, and those people hopefully will end up with better jobs because the next company that comes along doesn't do the same mistake.
Exactly. And maybe some of them have a really good idea and can start instead of. I mean, the German government got now a package with $750 billion for the for companies and all the stuff. I mean, of course, you have to, like, small companies should save because they're not like the big global players. But instead of putting hundreds of millions in gigantic companies, they just should figure out how they get out of the
problem.
They should find the solution. And the solution shouldn't be the government just gave them more and more money. This makes, I'm always try to look forward, and but I think this is our thing. We are always we always see the problem, and for us it's okay. Yeah, it doesn't work, so we're gonna find a solution, and we do something in a different way or whatever. But this is how it always worked for us, and this is how we got to the point where we are right now.
Are you talking about personally?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the people, most of the people are really, really comfortable. They're just like, you know, why should I move my ass from the couch if the government gave me money for doing nothing?
Yeah.
It's you are responsible to get lucky and to find the luck in your life. No one else. And
but I think the definition of luck would not be that.
Yeah.
Like, you're responsible for being lucky.
No, of course not.
It's not called luck.
Yeah. No, but it's everything in your life is your responsibility.
Yeah.
You are responsible for your life and no one else.
Yeah.
And as soon as the people start realizing this, they have a way better life because they see chances and opportunities and things and go forward. Mm-hmm. But if I always hate this when the people be like, yeah, my life is so bad because of this and that and because of the others and my old company that they fired me and whatever. Yeah, but there was a reason. Maybe sometimes it's not your fault that the company you work in get bankrupt. Of course, it's not. Most of the time, it's not your direct fault. But instead of being, okay, now I don't do anything because it wasn't my fault and now I'm in the situation, you should accept the situation for you and go.
Yeah.
And I think the people are so. They have this expectation that there's someone else coming and help them.
Yeah.
Of course you should help.
Well, that's just like entitlement that everyone feels entitled now.
It's also that everyone.
I think that's hugely in part. I mean, we're part of that entitled generation. But when back to the whole idea of travel is like everyone sees everyone else doing it, and so they do it as well.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well,
it's also interesting, like how we travel is like I always try to go to hostels and like leave minimal amount of debris or like minimal footprint behind me, and then I see other people's travels and I'm like, whoa, dude, like you went there and you did this and like you had your own space and burned through all this stuff, and you're like, I'm not saying that's wrong, but it's like you see that it's like would I say exploitative of certain places? Like I always feel like everywhere we went, we tried to talk to the locals, tried to leave a minimal footprint, we tried to leave it better than we found it. I tried to make people, you know, being an American, you don't get this, but like I always, being from the United States, always sometimes get attacked a little bit. I always try to show like, not all of my country folk are what you think they are, and try to change people's perceptions, because a lot of damage has been done. Not even from like history of wars or stuff like that, but literally just from like other people being idiots and not being aware of
and don't care
and not care.
I think this is. I mean, we travel now for a long time together, and you know that sometimes I have my little things, my little problems. For example, that I always be like, I don't like to meet Germans when I'm traveling. And I think it's exact like what you said is the way of. I mean, I have super cool friends in Germany, and there are tons of people that are really nice and really cool, and they're also traveling around, and they're more like me, but they're also like those typical German, people who don't care. They have to put their towel on the bench to market or whatever. It's,
Towel on the bench. What, that really annoys you? Like when people put towels on the
no,
bench?
it's like the thing. They're like those typical German things.
They're colonizing the bench?
Yeah. I was here first. I went before breakfast. I went down there and put my towel there. So this is my space, and you didn't it, so you don't deserve it. And it's like this was really interesting to me when we were in Dubai at the airport, and you were sleeping, and I was sitting there, and then there was one chair next to me, getting free because the woman there left, and then there was this German man with his wife, and he sat down there, and then the next seat got free or something like. It was really. I don't know the exact way it was, but I remember.
I woke up like halfway through this. I didn't really understand what was happening.
Yeah, and then there was another chair get free, and there was also another woman who wants to sit there, and the man.
Not a part of the other couple.
Yeah, not part of the other couple, and they had already 2 spaces, but they weren't sitting together like next to each other.
Okay.
And then there was the chair getting free that they could sit next to each other, but there was a woman waiting, and then the woman got up and she wants to sit down because the chair got free, and the man was just jumping up and was like, "No, this is reserved for my wife." And I was like, "What the fuck?" And because his wife already got a seat, but instead of being like, "Oh, can we change? Can you go over there so I can sit next to my wife?" He wasn't friendly about it.
He was aggressive.
He was like, "No, my wife deserved this place." And I was like, "What the heck? You can just be like a normal human being and say, 'Excuse me, can the seat over there? There's sitting my wife. Is it possible that we change so we can sit together?'" And no one ever in the world would be like, okay, I would be like, "No,
Nah.
nah."
Yeah,
I always do this. I always do this on those short flights when you have like couples. For example, if you fly with Ryanair to London, and then there's a couple and they want to sit next to each other for 3 hours. Oh no, it's 1 hour and 30 minutes flight, so it's a really short flight.
You always tell them no?
And they want to sit together, but they don't want to pay extra for it, because when you want to sit together, you have to book it in advance, your seats, and reserve them, and pay like €2 or whatever.
Okay.
Like when you're 2 person, it's like 4 or 8 euros. It's
Nothing.
whatever.
Yeah.
If you can't stay, and then they ask me, and I always be like, "No." And you know why I do it? Because I think it's not necessary to sit together for 1 hour. And I mean,
Wait, how often does this happen to you? You were like, no.
It happened 3 or 4 times.
Really?
Yeah.
And you always tell them no?
No. Because
Are they shocked?
Yeah, sometimes they really think it's a joke, but I'm not joking about it. Because I think it's a 1 hour flight. Come on, you don't have to sit together for 1 hour flight. Yeah. And if it's so important to you, you could pay
That's so funny.
You could pay the $8. Whatever.
Oh, now it's 8. You said it was 2.
Yeah, 2 per seat. 2. Okay. It depends. Sometimes it's 4 or 8.
But wait, that's so funny, because then you have to sit next to the person.
Yeah, I don't mind.
But do you ever talk to them afterwards and explain this to them, or
No.
you're just like?
I just don't mind about it. I think it's if it's for you, because my way of thinking is just super simple. If it's so important to you to sit together, then you can pay the little amount of money, because then it's really important to you. But just to enter the plane and be like, "Oh, of course the person gonna be nice," and say like, "Of course it's no problem." No.
You want to prove that not everyone's nice.
No, I want to prove that it's not that important to sit together. And if it's really important to you, you pay for it.
Okay.
Or maybe I should do it next time. Yeah, we can change seats, but it costs you $10.
Yeah.
I mean, when I
when
I flew with my girlfriend, or my ex-girlfriends now, I never sit together with them, and I never ask people about it because I really don't care about it.
I usually sleep on the flight anyway. I don't need to talk
Yeah,
to anyone.
I mean, my family, I think, you know, I really love my mom. My mom is the most important woman in my life, and I really love my family, and it's really important to me. But even if I fly with them, I never sit together with them because I really don't care about it. I would just
Yeah, I never care about sitting next to people on a flight.
even if it's like 20 hours, whatever. Nobody is having a real long, good chat on an airplane.
Yeah.
Everyone is quiet because imagine you're sitting together with 300 persons and everyone start having a conversation. It's going to be so loud.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you don't really have long chat. Yeah, I always hear people being like, yeah, I had a really good chat with the people on the airline. I'm like, how did you do that? First of all, I feel really tired. And then like I try to talk and I kind of like, oh, like.
Yeah, and you have your
loud.
food.
Yeah.
You enjoy your movies, you sleep. This is what people usually do on a flight. Or if you really have the need to have a talk, you can always go to the kitchen in the back and have a conversation with the stewardess.
Not everyone's doing that, just you. You only did that on the one flight that all the
No,
stewardess were beautiful.
No, I did it on twice. I did it on the one flight, and on the other one where I spilled my wine over my pants.
Oh, because you had to go ask them for.
Yeah, and then but she was super nice. She was even helping me cleaning it.
You didn't tell me that part.
Yeah, because we don't have conversations on the airplane.
we don't talk on the airplane.
Yeah, how many times were we sitting together on our flights? 2 times?
Yeah,
in the same row, like
yeah,
next to
maybe
each other? 2 or 3
two
times.
times. I think.
Yeah, and we had 10 flights. And the only thing,
even we didn't even talk once we got on the flight.
yeah, we
with
always
each
had
other.
like our cheers.
And that was it.
And how was your food?
We have nothing to talk about on the flight.
No,
Nobody has anything to talk about on the flights.
No, because you have to deal with the flight.
Yeah.
And this is why I'm doing it. I think it's not necessary, and if you really want to, you can pay for it.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you have like a really long-term flight, you can choose your seat for free.
Yeah.
Most of the time, or if you go to the counter, they gave you most of the time seats together.
Mm-hmm.
So, but on the short 1-2 hour flights, come on.
Yeah, dude. I understand.
And for me, it's really funny. Sometimes I just like to do stuff like this because I know it's unusual and the people think I'm an asshole because of this. But I really don't care if the people think I'm an asshole or not because I know I'm not an asshole.
Or you are.
But in a different kind of way.
You are. That is kind of an asshole move to do that. Like, you know it is too. Because there could be a scenario one day that you really wanted to sit and then you ask someone, they're like, no. But you would understand.
Yeah, I would understand. And maybe I would never ask because I'm still on the point where I think
It's not okay.
Yeah.
Okay, how about this? You just got married and you're with your new wife and you're going on your honeymoon. And you got on the flight and you were separated. But probably if someone told you that story, you would move.
Yeah.
If someone came on and was like, hey, we just got, and you said no, and then they said, we just got married.
Then I'm gonna be like, oh, I wish you all the best, but you're not sitting together.
Okay.
No, for sure.
You're gonna stick to your guns on it.
This would be, of course.
Or it was like my child, my 5-year-old or something.
Of course, this is what I always do. I just do it, and just don't do it when.
Show me who's the other person.
No, if it's just.
Who's the other person? Okay, yeah, I'm not trading with that.
Oh, can I sit next to my boyfriend? He's sitting in this and that row.
Or are these all pretty girls, and you're like, nope.
No, I want to sit next to you, and at the end of the flight, you have a new boyfriend.
That would be the best, man. No, I think I'll just sit next to you and.
But most of
have
the
a
time,
new boyfriend at the end.
Yeah. Most of the time, they always send the girl
to ask.
Yeah. This is also what I think. It's like, bro, you
be a man. You come
on.
ask. Yeah.
You can ask. Yeah. But I always met really nice people when I fly. Remember the one story I told you when I came from Guatemala for Thanksgiving with the couple from San Diego?
Yeah.
I mean, shows that you can always find really nice people on a flight. But
yeah, and you were meant to sit next to the people that you were put next to.
yeah, but I just met them before we entered the plane, and this were like 5 minutes of conversation, and it set up a real nice thing.
Mm-hmm.
And afterwards, we never talked
Okay.
on the plane because we were not sitting together. I was
Right.
sitting in the front. and
Because
they
you
were
asked
like-
to switch and someone said no.
Yeah, you have more or less everything, and then you have to be okay. I want maybe a little bit more of this, and oh no, I could cut this out because, and then yeah,
You know what to do better, and you
Yeah.
know how to complete things better. And what's really amazing is like when you have other creative people around, like for example the Africa episode or the Argentinian episode, like those songs actually I'm not even that, I know they're just little tweaks I need to do. And then with like, you know, Antarctica, where it's pretty much all me, there's like a lot more going. I took many takes and
yeah.
this and that, and that was also because I wasn't in a proper studio. And
Oh, you had a proper studio in the Antarctica. Your room was a proper studio.
Yeah, sure, man. What a crazy time Antarctica was. I love that place.
Oh,
But
I
that
really
was,
do.
yeah, trying to do it musically was very difficult.
Yeah, I can imagine this. I mean, it's already difficult to realize this place, and then to create something.
Yeah.
What at the same time to create and realizing what is happening.
It was hard.
Yeah.
It was really hard, man.
I mean,
I'm being reset, man. The like Antarctica, I really felt good, man. I feel like really, and I feel like we've held. I feel like I made a distinction between social media and myself afterwards. That the things we do are very purposely driven now, and I'm not getting as I don't even look at Instagram as much as I used to, or look at some of these other things as much as I did before. Like think about, I don't know if you're like this, but how much I was looking at California and Argentina compared to afterwards in Laos and Africa. I was kind of like, okay.
Yeah, because in California and Argentina, we were really okay. We really have to go into it and doing stuff, but I mean, even at this time in California and Buenos Aires, for us, social media was never like a super important thing in our lives, because we always were persons that stay with the real thing, with the reality. But it has his point in our lives, and after the Antarctica, after 13 days of really being free, it was even hard. I mean, imagine how hard it was for us to even go back to the point, because we were really not interested. And I mean, now I think this is what it makes even more crazy, the situation right now, because the people are all at home and just hanging around on all those platforms because there's nothing else to do.
I think this is the crazy thing too, because at the exact same moment that the government is locking everyone down and tightening the surveillance noose around everyone, everyone is freely getting on all the platforms that can see them and know exact thoughts. Like everything is coming together all at once. Like, you know, if someone was about to tell you, listen, the government's going to crack you down and they're going to be surveilling you more, you would be like, okay, get the phone away from me.
Yeah.
But instead, people are clinging to the phone and going onto these group chats. And think about how much information you gave up. I'm just using you as an example.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yesterday you got on, what was it called?
House Party.
So you got on House Party and you talked about all these things, but you freely gave up information to House Party that House Party can use. And I freely got on a chat yesterday. I never get on FaceTime chats with friends. I got on a FaceTime chat and told a lot of thoughts and a lot of things that I was feeling. But we're freely doing that because people are locked up right now and they need human interaction, and that's how they're finding it. And that's how they're doing it.
I mean, after the the whole construction of the social media and internet and like everything gonna be changed so badly after this, because they know tons
of new information.
Yeah, they have tons of new information because the people
gave it up.
They don't, and it's even interesting because they can analyze us better, because now you have to see it like this. Before, they already have like tons of information about certain people, but we're always moving. So there were like other interaction that changed our mind, but now the people are just at home. They're at a steady place. You have a steady individual.
You have a constant.
Yeah.
And they didn't have the constant before.
No.
The constant is location.
Yeah.
And if you break that constant, you are legally bound to pay money now, or you're breaking the law.
And you can't even.
They've never had a constant with. You're right, man. I never even thought about that. They have a constant in data that they never had before.
And then if you have once the constant, and then it's way more just easier for them to get when the people are going getting out again. And I mean, the people can't even demonstrate against that they're locked up, because they have to pay tons of money.
Yeah.
When my mom told me today that if you got test positive, they're gonna analyze your data from your phone, from your, they'd say just your location movement, to figure out in which places you were, to see or to, watch out if other people can have it there because you may spread it. I was just shocked, because they just gave you two choices. You have the choice: you never get tested, or you gave up all your freedom. Like, you're totally free, because even if they say it's just they control it just once where you moved, if they once have it, they're always gonna get it.
Yeah.
And this is what I.
Yeah, because you've done it one time now, and so they're gonna say it's necessary. And not only that, let's say this thing lasts for a year. So it's necessary, David, that they have to do it for a year then to analyze you. And then it could happen again. So we really need to analyze you from here on out. Because they would never want a Wuhan thing to happen again. Because if they had analyzed everyone, they could have found patient 0, and we could have stopped it. Whatever. That's not a reason to...
Yeah, at the end they just gave me a certificate that I'm an asshole, but what else do you want to do? Everyone got the smartphone. Like, everyone had an iPhone or a Samsung or whatever. And maybe it is, we talked about it today too. The virus is also, it affects older people, so most old people don't have a smartphone. So imagine this, because older people can die most of the time of the virus, because for them it's way more dangerous. You reduce those kind of people who are not at the internet, or just don't use a smartphone, or maybe don't even have a phone, like a cell phone, and you reduce this group. So now you have 100 million, but at the end of the virus, when the virus is totally over, you only have like 20 million.
Yeah.
Just it's a total extreme way of thinking. But then you have a population of still 7,900,000 whatever, like that have a smartphone, so you really can control the whole world.
Yeah.
And I think this is what really scares me, what always scared me about the internet.
Yeah.
Of course I'm not the person that's not on social media and all this stuff, but it's always...
No, but it's like, okay, one step at a time. For the first time ever, we can actually say we're not harming the environment as much, because the planes aren't flying, the cars aren't going, The factories aren't running, like all that stuff's happening. But what's happened now is we switched over to the phone, and what people should be doing is like, okay, we're in quarantine, let's not use our phones. Let's not use technology, which would be so outrageous and radical for people to do because they're lonely. But that would be actually the smartest thing, because I bet everything would go back to normal, maybe way faster. Like, who knows?
Yeah, I think this is also really interesting because imagine you're now at home with your family. Your brother's there, your sister, mom and dad, everyone is at home. You start going back to the old times where you really interact with each other, playing games.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess you still have your meals together, but you have your dinner and have a conversation, and maybe afterwards you watch a movie or something, and but you really interact with your siblings and your parents again. But what now happens, even if the families are locked up together, everyone is super separate. So everyone, okay, you have your meal together and you might have a conversation. Sometimes you play a bit, but most of the time you're just spending
Scrolling
time on your phone and not with the people that are around you. And I mean, of course, it's super. For me, it's super nice that I can talk to my family, even if I'm super far away.
Yeah.
But what I really would love to do is hanging around with my family and interact with them, in person,
Yeah.
and having fun with them, playing games, having funny conversation, making jokes about our grandparents or whatever.
Yeah.
But this is not what.
But it's harder once you go to a screen because it's more.
Yeah, it's not the same.
It's not natural.
Yeah,
it's not.
And I mean, we talked today about maybe 2 hours, something like this. Yeah, I guess it was around 2 hours. And it was really, really nice because my sister was doing her stuff, and my mom her, and I was just in my bed. But it was really nice, but it wasn't the same, and we all felt that it wasn't the same.
Mm-hmm.
And yesterday when I had the house party with my friend, it was really, really funny. But
you wouldn't want to do that every day.
Yeah, and it was, for me, it was nice and it was funny, but it showed me that I really want to act with this person in real life. Right. That I hated it. At the same time I enjoyed it, I hated it. Because I knew we are not together, and I don't know when we are together again and really enjoy a house party.
Right.
But it doesn't have to be a party, but hanging around with your friends and drinking a glass of wine and just make jokes, and you can't get the feeling when you're doing it on the phone or on the internet or whatever.
And there's that element of like, it's how far are we away from that being fake? Like, they've watched a house party, right? They saw how you analyzed or how you interacted with your friends.
Yeah.
Now there were how many friends in the group?
7.
So there were 7 friends in the group. Now, if one friend was acting weird in the group, you wouldn't have been able to pick up on it. There were too many friends, right?
You could do, because I mean,
well, just follow me on down this hypothetical hole. Okay. Yeah. So, if that is the case, and people start doing this more and more, they could probably use the graphics that they've already given over, and the conversation, because I think it's like a certain number of words to mimic someone's voice, to then manipulate people to feel like, I'm surrounded by friends, and look at my house party, and I'm sitting here, and I'm drinking a beer, and I'm getting a little buzzed, and I'm feeling good with my friends, but maybe those friends aren't even actually there. Maybe that's made up. Like maybe AI I mean, that's not that hard to replicate that, right?
No.
For AI now. Like, what are we starting to do in the world, you know?
Yeah. I think this is what always concerned me over the years. we start losing the feeling of reality, and we start losing that, oh, we think it's not that important for us. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That reality is not
Yeah.
important. Yeah.
And I think this is so sad, because for me it's really important. This is why I always I always have the need to be in touch with my friends and real persons,
Yeah.
and to really see the emotion and feel the emotion, and having really deep conversation and see what really happens with the other person. If you talk about certain kind of stuff, if you talk about sad stuff, to really see that this have an impact on the other person. And I think this is what we really lose, because even if somebody's crying on the phone, it's not the same, and you can't be there for the person and help the person when you're on the phone. I mean, you can say, this is what I also always say, you can say so many stuff, you can use so many words, but it always, what the most matters is how you act.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what you never ever can do with a phone on a screen. You can't ever show this, and I really hope that it is never possible to do it, because this would steal the reality from us, and at the end everyone is just staying at home.
Yeah, and
in this small little
and even
bubble.
thinking about it, how much is it, like, what is it, 70% of language is body language, and if you can't see the body, then do you know if that's really the truth, what you're interpreting?
Yeah.
You know, that's why phone calls are better than text. Text is the most dangerous, but it's like a scale, right? Because text, you can, if you get offended in a text, but you're friends with that person, it's like, okay, why don't you call the person and interpret what they're saying?
Yeah.
Because maybe they just don't take the time to write out a nice text how you perceive what would be nice.
There's so many misunderstandings just by texting, because saying a word and you have the mimic and the body language gives you a different feeling, because one word can have 2, 3, 4 different meanings. And if you just write it,
maybe same meaning, different interpretations.
Oh, yeah. More like this, yeah. And if you write it, it's just, it depends on your personal feeling at this exact moment when you read it. If you're pissed, then you interpret it negatively. And if you're really good, you think like, oh, well, yeah, everything is fine. And this is how all those misunderstandings started.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why this is what I think is also pretty interesting. You have this with like WhatsApp messages, but if you write a real letter, it's different again.
Or from whatever.
I mean, this is the most, this is actually the funniest thing, that we all know the end, because there is the end of our lives, we're gonna die. And why don't we live every day that it's probably gonna be your last day, because you don't know when you're gonna die.
Amen, brother.
So we do the exact right thing. We were traveling for a long time, but now we are locked up. But it's not that we're feeling bad about it, because we still enjoy every day, every morning. We wake up every morning as a present that God gave to us.
Amen. And with that, check us out on 7.
Love you guys.
Love you. We're out.